Alrighty, so we left off, we finished the two berries, the hair, and the ponytails here. And I haven't done this leaf yet, which I need to do. It's going to be the same as that side, so you can go ahead and just mimic what you did over here. But I wanted to start on the skin, on the face today. So in this part, we are going to work on that. But just so you have a good clear image of where your piece should be at right now, if you happen to be doing this same picture by Lana Green. It's a lot of fun. It's very summery with the berries and the strawberry cake. So you know me, I have to turn my picture. Okay, so here are some potential colors that we're going to use on the face. I want to write those down. Let me zoom in. Okay, so there you have it. It is 1092, 1093, 1080, 140, 948, 1001, 929, 1019, 945, 927, and 938. Keep in mind, we may add some more colors, or I may not use all of these colors in this portion. We just have to wait and see where we're at. So let's get started, and let me push that off to the side here. The first color you're going to want to grab is your 1092, which is your nectar. So again, we're using the same pencils, the Prismacolors. Now, what I'm going to do here, let me zoom in just a little bit more for you. Okay. I'm going to use a really light touch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around my picture, and I'm going to put a light layer of color, kind of where I think some darker shading is going to be around the face. And don't worry, it's going to start to look really dark. So don't panic when that happens, because your lighter colors are going to come towards the end when you start really blending those and blending these darker tones out. What you're doing is you're putting your undertones in, your shades. I know it seems weird, but trust the process. It'll help you along the way. So I'm going to start down here around her chin area. And I'm just going to really lightly put a coating in certain areas. So I'm using just barely putting enough color on the paper here. And I'm using small circles as I'm going around this area. I'm going to go up under the lip a little bit. And what's great about this picture is Lana's put some of the shading in for you. So it should help you along the way determine where good areas are to put some of that shading. So I'm going to go around the fingers here. And again, because I'm not using toned paper, I'm using white paper. This is a color that I have, a color palette, I guess so to say, that I came up with that I thought would be really good for this particular image. Now on that little ear there, focus on the shaded areas on the ear, and just put a light coating over some of those shaded areas. You're kind of staying with the shape of the ear. That way it doesn't get too dark. And sorry, my TV's in the background there, like some kind of weird car chase. There, I turned it down. I was like, I hate that when all of a sudden it gets really loud. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to what I was doing. Now, again, with my light touch, I'm just going to put some of this color around certain areas. I'm going around the hairline, but be careful not to blend your brown. You shouldn't even be pushing hard enough to blend. It should just be a really light touch. And in these areas up here in the hair, go ahead and put a little bit of your nectar in there really lightly. You're just changing the color of the paper basically by putting a tint of it on there. And I know it's tricky, so just don't push hard, just be gentle, and you should be just fine even if you go over the brown. So what you're doing is kind of giving yourself an idea of where these darker areas could be on your page. I'm going to try not to smear by going over here. I'm going to go up here into the part line. And as you see, I'm just really lightly putting in some of this color. I'm not doing any fancy trickery. Kind of using little small circles as I do this. I'm resting my hand on that berry, so I'm trying not to rub across it. I should have a piece of parchment paper, but I don't have one handy. Usually I have a piece sitting over here. Okay, I'm gonna come over here to this side. And you can see I'm just really gently putting some of that color here, right up against that hairline. And as you come down here, you'll see some of that shading around the finger area. And again, don't forget to do your little bit on your ear. Getting around your fingers. And again, I'm going to come down here in between these fingers here and putting that light color in there. Because her hand's kind of giving some more shadow, you want to get around that just ever so slightly. So once you've kind of outlined your whole picture, you can kind of get a good look. Now, down here under the lip is a little bit of a darker area. So I'm just going to kind of put a little bit around her chin, keeping in mind that that point around her chin right here in the center should be a little bit lighter. Okay, I'm going to come up here around the creases of her lip. And just adding a little color. And now I'm going to come up here around her right eye. So I'm going to go up underneath here just a little bit. I'm just kind of outlining what Lana already has in there, if that helps you to understand what I'm doing. And this little bit around her eyelids, that crease on her eyelid. I'm going to bring that color in just a little bit here. And then I'm going to follow, so where her nostrils are, you can see there's some shading there for you. Go ahead and go over that shading really lightly. So I'm going to go on the outside and underneath. Don't get heavy-handed here. You don't want to get all crazy. Now you've got this little bit in the center right here that kind of dips down. This is where I always have the hard time. Sometimes I have to come back in there and do a pencil line or an eraser line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm following the contour of her nose up to her eye. See how I did that really gently? So what I'm doing, I'm at a weird angle here, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to probably have to come this way and down. So that gives me kind of like the bridge of her nose. So you can see how I did that really gently. And now I'm going to add some of this shading in there. So all I did basically was define that bridge on the nose there a little bit. And I'm going to come up towards the eye, the inner portion of the eye right here. And I'm going to repeat that same thing on the other side. And again, I'm using light pressure. The darker areas that you see, that's because there's already some shading under there. Oops. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing over here under her eye. And along that crease of the eyelid there. Okay. Once I've got kind of an idea, then I can kind of go back and, oops, sorry, almost got out of focus. Kind of do a little touch up here around some of these areas. Paying attention to that hairline. Again, I'm not pushing heavy, but I'm going to come down here a little bit more and around my ear a little more, I think. Okay. Bring some of that nectar up around her cheek a little more. I'm going in between the eyebrows, keeping it even. Just a little bit there. Okay, so now you've got kind of a basic idea. I need my little eraser. Where'd it go? These great little mono erasers. So, because I got a little too much right there, what I'm trying to do is make it, I want to show you this, so let's see, how do I do this? Okay, let's do this way. Kind of going under her nose a little bit here, and then I'm going to I know it looks a little funny right now, but it won't. As you work your picture, it'll start to really come together. Okay. So, once you've got kind of your basic idea down, like, okay, I see where I can maybe put a little more right in here. And then your next color you're going to want to grab after you put your 1092 down is 1093, which is your seashell pink. So 1093 is a little on the gray side. So with your 1093, you're going to kind of go over the forehead edges, the lips, the mouth, kind of what you just did, but you're going to define a little bit more. So I'm going to start down here. And again, do not push heavy. I'm going to do small circles. And I'm kind of just giving a little bit more around my edges here. So you can kind of see, I'm not really mixing too much. I'm just adding subtle hints. It's just going to darken it up just a little bit. And don't panic. I know it. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so dark. Yes and no. This is going to blend away when you start adding your lighter colors in here. So I'm going around the ear here. And getting around the eyes and the bridge of the nose, that can be daunting to say the least. So I'm going around the base of the lip here. And around these edges a little bit. And I'm repeating on the same side. Okay, now when I do the nose, I'm going over that shaded area. Trying to keep with the bridge of the nose. I know it seems this is a tedious, slow process, but your end result should be stunning. Okay, I'm going to put a little more and go a little bit more around these edges here. Up into that hairline again. And you notice I'm not doing real heavy. Turn this for you. Sorry if I got out of focus again. It's really hard when you zoom in to stay in view sometimes. So I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing and try to keep the camera in view at all times. I should have little markers on my paper. It says, keep your paper in this spot. Okay, I'm going to jump up here since I'm just putting a little more of that seashell pink. Right up around the edges of the hair and the face. I'm not using heavy pressure. I'm just being very gentle. Go around this eyebrow. Let's see if I can get on this other side here. I get over here on this eye. So I'm going along the crease of that eye and down by her lash, but not filling in that white part. Just adding a little bit more color there. I'm going to come around here, and then I'm going to get in this little bit of this ear here. I'm going to get down in between those fingers a little bit. Again, I'm going around the bottom of the chin and up underneath that lip a little bit. There's a cat hair. Gretel is sleeping. It's warm today. I think we're finally going to get some warm temperatures. So she's over there sleeping, which is shocking. She's not bugging me, but it's not nighttime, so it's a little bit earlier in the day than I normally have time to do my videos. So again, I'm just going around the nose a little bit, defining that shape of that nose and those nostrils there. So you should start to see some subtle color changes. And that's kind of what you're after. You don't want it to be really heavy. You just want to kind of get a nice coat in there, but not heavy. I'm going to come around that eye. Right up along that edge again. Just a little bit there. And I might get around the bottom of this eye here. Pretty cool. Okay, so the next color is going to be 1080. This is your beige sienna. So this is yet a little bit darker. So here's where you want to be a little bit more careful with where you're putting this color. It's going to give more depth and more shape. So we are going to start right around the nose. And all I'm doing is, again, a very light touch. Kind of going over what I've already done, but giving a little more shape with this color. So you could tell I'm being very careful because you can easily put too much in and make it look really bad. So if you're using a light touch, that's going to be your best friend. Okay, I'm going to turn this here. I'm going to focus on this side. I'm going to come down here underneath the nose a little bit. So basically going around the nostrils a little bit. And then ever so light right there. And it's better if you use a light touch because you can adjust and add more color later. But it's going to be really hard to take it away. Especially when you're building up layers like this. You're going to have a really hard time taking color away if you get too heavy too quick. So I'm going to go around this very edge of the face. And then a little bit on the ear. Some of my darker shaded areas on the ear is where I'm using this color. And right at that cheek line there. So in between the fingers, my lights are on that stupid motion thing. You know, smart home technology is great, but your light goes out when it doesn't detect somebody in the room. It's like, oh, come on. Going around the bottom of the lip here. And you can see the contrast a little bit. And I know it looks really dark, so don't panic. Let's get up along this side of the face. And around the darker parts of that ear. I'm going to try to see if I could turn this way. Kind of go under that eye there. Again, I'm still using a very light touch. And I'm following the crease of her eye right here. I'm going to go around this hairline. Don't worry, I didn't forget that bridge of her nose. I'm going to come back to it. I'm just going to put a little of this up closer to the hairline. You can see I'm pulling it up into those bare exposed areas where it should be skin peeking through the hair there. Okay. Now I'm going to come over here, work on this nose a little bit. Okay. So we see these dark areas, so I'm going to focus on those a little bit. So you can see all I'm doing is kind of making the contours of her nose. Like the bridge, you know, the sides of your nose there. And I do struggle with this a little bit, getting them even sometimes. I'm like, oh, her nose is crooked. Haha. I guess we're only human, right? Have a crooked nose. Sometimes my shading gets a little crazy. I'm like, oops, my bad. She doesn't get a straight nose today. Kind of like that. So you're basically putting your first layers in. So your first layers can always be adjusted later on as you're building up your second layers. Now, I like to tell people don't panic, because if you start to panic and think it's too dark, then you're really going to booger up. So now we're going to add some cheek color. So I picked 929 for this image. So I'm going to come up here with my 929, and this might get going a little bit. So right at the edge of her cheek here, I'm going to start to put in some 929 over what is already there. And again, I'm using light pressure. I am not using a heavy touch at all. So what I'm doing is I'm following kind of the contour of her cheek, trying to think of the shape of the face. And I know it's going to look really bright pink at first. That's okay. Do not freak out, because that will tone down as you start to add your colors in. So again, a light touch. And this is like the normal build-up process. I'm going to kind of bring it up just a little bit. And I'm bringing this over a little towards her nose. And you can see just how light I'm using of a touch. Because look how long that tip is. So I'm not pressing hard at all. Basically just gently putting a little bit of color on the paper. And I know it looks really weird right now, but that's okay. It can look weird. So I'm going to put a little here, a little bit heavier right here on the ball of the cheek. So you can see where I put a little bit more on the ball of her cheek right there. Okay. I'm going to put just a little bit on the inner part of her ear here. Just a little. I'm going to do the same on the other side so I don't forget. Those ear parts. So now I'm going to do the other cheek. Let me tone this for you. So I'm going to, try not to rub my hand across that berry. So now I'm going to do the same over here. Right at that ear, I'm bringing in a little bit of that pink. And because She's got her hand on her cheek there. I'm going to bring that pink down. She's kind of scrunching her face a little bit. So this would be approximately where the ball of her cheek is. My best guess, right? And I know I get quiet. I'm sorry about that. I get quiet when I'm focusing. I have mourning doves out hanging out in my yard. And I can hear them out there. They're cooing, making these wonderful sounds. So I'm going to come up here just a little bit around the bridge. A little bit of that pink. Same on the other side. I'm not adding a lot, just a little. I think I want a little more pink right here. Try to make it as even as possible. I'm going to come up underneath her lip just a little. And then right underneath here. See how I've done that so far? I know it looks strange, right? And I think this is where people get scared when they do their skin. They're like, they go into full-on panic mode. And I tell them, why are you panicking? Why are you freaking out? Just keep going. I'm going to put a little in the crease right here of that pink, just at the edges for now. I think I'm going to work a little bit more right in here. Yeah, I think I'll put a little down here. Again, I'm not using a heavy hand, just doing little bits. It's getting pretty snappy. Now I'm going to grab my 1001 and I'm going to kind of go over the cheeks and around the eyes a little bit just for details. I'm not adding heavy pressure still. So I'm just kind of mixing a little bit to see where I'm at. And it kind of blends down that bright pink a little bit. So by doing this, you should kind of start to see what's happening to your face. you should start to see a little bit of the image start to come together a little better. Again, I'm just lightly going over what I've already got in there. Let me get into this ear here. Oops. Did I do it again? It's because I'm zoomed in so far so you can see. If I don't, then people will be like, I can't see what you're doing. So I'm going around the ear. And again, I'm going around this area very, very lightly. I'm going around this cheek area. And where I put that pink in, I'm just putting a light layer. I'm going to kind of turn this so I can get around her nose here. And I'm just kind of putting a little bit of that peachy salmon color up around the eyes, the bridge of the nose. I'm going over the creases in her eyes because she's got her eyes closed here. So, and up underneath the eye, that shadow. Come around the center portion of her head right here between the brows. I'm going to rotate my paper to get on that other side. Again, I'm just going around over what I already did. I'm going to rotate this and get that other cheek now. Again, I'm just going to go over the pink and the brown with a very light coat. Let me get in that ear again over here. I don't want to forget these ears on you. Again, I'm just laying a little light coat, a light peachy color. Okay, back to the cheek. So as you can see, I'm just small circles, light coat. It's kind of blending that little peachy bits in with that bright pink, and it mellows it out. And I'm just going to keep going. Now I'm going to go up the bridge of the nose, over towards the eye a little bit, around the crease of that eye, and the under part of her eye a little bit. Going around those shaded areas of the nose. I see some spots I want to focus on a little bit more. So I'm going to come down here a little bit, around the mouth. So I'm just adjusting where I think I need more of a certain color. Okay. And of course, this side's a little darker because that's her hand there. She's got a little bit more shadow there, I think. Okay. I'm going to go around the hairline just a little bit. Not all the way up into the hairline like before, but just kind of the edges of it, where the last color we put down was. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this in there. Not a whole lot. Just want to kind of bring in some of this salmon. So you see how that salmon color, when it applied over that 929, how it changes it? It dulls it down. So I know you're looking at your picture going, this is not going to make a pretty face. This is your muddy look, your precursor look. This is like the base of your picture, your skin, your face. And now is a good time to start adjusting where you want darker shades, lighter shades. Like, I'm going to come back in here, I think with my nectar for a minute. And I'm going to put a little bit more in certain areas. Like I said, it's easier to adjust and add more color than it is to take it away. I'll come in here a little bit. That was weird. My mailman just pulled up for some odd reason. I might have to take a break and see if he left something on my porch. He was just at the end of my driveway. I didn't even hear him. It's like he snuck in on me. So I'm going around that ear. Those dark lines on the ear. Just adding some more of this nectar in there where I think I want a little bit richer. Go up under the lip again. Go around that nose. That eye. Okay. And this side of the face. And this ear on the left side again. And I'm going to get some up here into this hairline. Just a little bit more. And around this eye crease. And do the other side the same. Okay. Going around the bottom of her lip again. So now you can kind of get a good feel. And your picture should basically kind of look like that. Look kind of crazy. Because the next color that we're going to throw in is 1019. I know, right? Your 1019, which mine is here somewhere. Or it was. I'm going to have to go find it now. And then your 140. Here it is. So your rosy beige, which is probably one of your colors you don't use very often. So I thought I would throw it in there. And your 140. So these are the next two colors. I'm going to take a break and go see what my mailman left on my porch. I'll be right back. Okay. It was nothing exciting. Nothing fun and exciting. No gifts. It was just mail. It was just too big to fit in my mailbox. It was an envelope. And he didn't know what was in it, so he didn't want to bend it. So that was boring. Okay, let me zoom back in here. We're going to grab our 140. And yeah. Do I want to do 140? No, I'm going to do 1019. So 1019, I'm going to go around, and now this is this is your rosy beige. So this is probably one of your colors you don't use often, so it should be really long. So I'm going to define some of these details with this rosy beige. I'm doing the crease of the eyes. I'm going to do the bridge. I'm going to do some of the under eye here. Don't get too heavy with this color. So as you can see what's happening here, this is quite a shade darker. So you want to use a really light touch when you do this, or you can easily booger up your picture. But I am just kind of making some defining areas a little bit darker and going over some of the really deep, like crease lines, etc. Especially around the eye here. So I'm going to go around the lip right here. And the bottom of this lip. Giving it just a little bit deeper of a shade. I'm going to hit this ear here. Some of the darker spaces that I want just a little more depth to, so to say. A little more deep. Yep, that's looking good. I'm going to go around the under of this nostril here. I'm just getting around these edges. And you can kind of see what I've done. It really kind of defines the shape of the nose. I'm gonna go up here, around this lip, just a little bit. Down between the center hair, still leaving that white space. Get some more right in here, I think. I'm gonna come up around the eye. It should almost look golden bronze on your paper. I had to roll this to get to this side here. So I'm going to do this side. And around that eyeball, into that crease. So I'm still using a light touch. In case you're wondering, I'm not pressing hard at all. I'm just kind of using little tiny movements and circles, and I'm just adding in some of this deep color to really define my edges here, my shading areas. It's going to give better definition instead of just using one or two colors. You're building up these layers. Sorry, I'm going to get back over here just a little bit. I wanted some more. I want some more color right in here. Yep. I'm going to go around this ear, these darker areas on my ear. Yep. I think I want some more down by the lip. Around that nose. Little bit of that gold. Just bringing that color out. And I'm trying to match it on both sides, but paying attention to the areas that are a little bit different because the way her hand position is. So I'm going to come down here, the bottom of the chin a little bit. Right around this hand portion and in between the fingers there. Especially on this side because that she's got her hand raised up against her face. So you should kind of start to see what your face is gonna look like. I'm gonna take some of this and I'm gonna I think I wanna bring a little bit out here. It's kind of giving her a little areas where I want some more golden touches than peach. So I'm just kind of adding subtle colors here. And when you're looking at your picture in person versus what you're seeing on my screen, or on your screen, excuse me, it's keep that in mind. It's going to look different on camera than it's going to look in person. So don't panic if you're a little bit lighter, a little bit darker. It's still going to come out really good. I'm going to add some more here around these eyes and around this hairline a little bit. Kind of bringing that color in around the eyebrow a little more. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Hopefully you can still see what I'm doing here. Come up to the hairline a little bit. I'm going to go around this eyebrow just a hair. Don't worry, we'll give her eyebrows later. So as you can see, it's starting to balance a little bit more. Okay, now I'm gonna take my 140. This is not your last layer, by the way. Adding 140, you should not be using heavy pressure right now because there's a lot more steps to this. And again, this is time consuming, but if you want that even look and you have the patience, this is a good way to do it. So with your 140, what I want you to do is take your 140 and blend over basically everything really lightly. You're not gonna press hard. You're just gonna do a light layer. So let me start down here and show you what I mean. So I'm gonna start by just slowly blending this color. See where I got that contour of the chin? I'm just kind of blending around, moving that color a little bit into that white center I left. So I left that white portion in the middle of her chin there, and there's a reason. So I'm just kind of moving that color in towards the center. So I'm toning out those dark colors a little bit with this 140, but I'm not gonna fill it in. I hope that makes some sense to you guys. So I'm going to go over a lot of what I've already got down with this 140, but just a light layer because I'm kind of mixing the colors a little bit, but lightening them up at the same time. So you're not getting crazy with your layers yet. But you're going to see a little more of the image come to life by doing this. And then you can make more adjustments as you need to. So you can see what I'm doing here around the nose. So you got that pink coming from the cheek. And I'm kind of pulling it towards, I guess, underneath the nose a little bit. And I'm blending those deeper shades. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just a really light blend. And I'm going to come up underneath the eye a little bit. I'm just moving that color around. I'm going to get in here between these fingers. And again, you can see I have a sharp tip, so you know I'm not pressing hard at all, which means I'm doing gentle layers. Blending and layering, blending and layering. Going over that bright pink cheeky area we had. Kind of defining underneath the eye. So you're kind of playing off of the shape you gave with those dark colors underneath. I'm going to go around this whole eye, around the eyebrow, so if you're using a not so heavy paper, you might not get as many layers. You're going to have to adjust your layers. And that has a lot to do with the thickness of your paper. So again, I'm just kind of mixing very lightly, going over that pink. And I'm still seeing a lot of my color differences, and that's what I want. I don't want to blend it so much that I can't see those deep shades I put in. I'm not there yet. But I am just kind of giving an overall layer here. Around my nose. And those little white spots between her nose there. And you should be able to move your color easily because you don't have heavy layer going on yet. So that's all I'm doing here. I guess you could think of it as lightening those deeper shades, but without really blending them away. So you can see how I'm just working that pencil around really lightly. And by doing light layers again, if you're like me and you have arthritis or your hands get really achy, using light techniques will save your hands a lot of pain. I promise it will. I know they make certain things for your hands, for hand fatigue that you can wear on your wrists. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I don't use them because I find they don't really help me. I have wrist braces, but that's because I have carpal tunnel. And sometimes those work, sometimes those don't. So again, I'm just kind of grabbing some of the color from the sides and I'm pulling it inward. And I'm doing that light layer. And when I'm done adding this in, then I can really see where my face needs work. So I can go back and brush up on some of the colors. I can add more color in. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get a good look at where our picture is after I put this nice light layer in. So if you've been doing light layers, you should be able to move your color really easily with 140. I'm going around the hairline now. Oops. Sorry. I'm going around the hairline on her forehead now. And up into those areas where I put some of that nectar in her hairline. And again, I'm still using a light touch, small circles. Not doing anything fancy. Kind of, I guess, medium circles on the forehead. Covers a wider area. Get up here a little bit. Okay, so you can see I've got a nice layer in here. And I'm just going to kind of polish some areas. so I can really see. Don't forget your ears. I almost forgot my ears. And again, I'm just going over what's there. I'm going to do this other ear here. Okay. So I can see, you can put a little work up in here. Kind of blend that color a little bit. And her cheekies. Move some of that pink around a little bit. I'm going to come down into her chin area. Over those faded deep areas here. Again, I'm just following what I previously did. Just kind of laying in, getting an idea. Let's go around this eye again, I think, right here. And this little spot up here. Looks like I didn't get a good coat on this hairline here. Don't run your 140 into your hair for the most part. You don't want to mess that up. Again, I'm just going over this, giving those subtle changes with this 140. Should really start to give you an idea. I'll go up my nose here. Think it's coming around. Starting to see the shape to a face. Look around this side. Up under that lip again. So this is where you should kind of be at right now. So you can see it took those sharp edges of the color, kind of toned it down a little bit. The 140 is great for that. You notice I didn't grab my white pencil yet. We will use white, but I wanted to show you what you can do without using your white pencil yet. A lot of people start with that white pencil, and that's good and it's bad. It's good sometimes on toned paper, but not so good on white paper. It can really change the look you're going for. And I think people quickly run to that white pencil. They forget that skin isn't really white. Nobody's skin is really white. It's a peach, it's a pink, it's a yellow, it's a tan, it's a deep, dark chocolate brown, it's a golden brown, an olive color. There's really not a lot of white pigment in skin. I know I said that, but think about it. You see people who have like vitiligo, those are those white patches on the skin like what Michael Jackson had. And although it can be beautiful, I've seen a model that has that, it's really cool. But that's, I forget the name of it, but that's a skin disorder. But my point is this, I mean, look at my skin color. And I'm a Caucasian female. So is my skin's not really white now, is it? So jumping right to that white pencil can make or break your skin colors. I use white in my pictures, but I don't use a lot of it. And again, that is really going to depend what tone I'm going for on my skin color. So it comes out beautiful if you have the patience and the technique. So a light touch. And again, my light touch is probably heavier than some other people, like Bonnie's light touch. I always use her, but that's because I've watched her. Her light touch is light. It's like nutty, but she uses different types of paper too. And a lighter touch on different textures of paper can vary as well. So you got to find your niche. You got to find that balance between light and heavy when it comes to your touch. But anyways, moving on, I want you to finish your blend very light, very gentle. Go over with your 140, all your little areas. I want you to do that. And I don't care if it takes you an hour to do it. Just do it really slow, really light, and get your colors where you kind of want them, because the next step is we're going to be adding in more details. And it's going to really bring the face to life. So I want you to do that, and I will add a second part of this face coming up, hopefully in the next day or two. So stay with me. Don't give up. Work on this portion for now. Because the next color we're going to stick in here is 945. So I want you to think about what 945 is. It's a rich, deep color, and it's going to give this face some life. All right, you guys, we'll be back soon.